passes all understanding will come on you. Some translations say will consume you. The phrasing there is a military term that means that God's peace will garrison around you, will be on guard around you, and literally guard your heart and your thinking. We've been looking at this on Wednesday nights about our thinking. Proverbs 4:23, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. How do we deal with the issues of life? We guard our hearts. We guard our hearts by allowing God and the love of God to literally consume us and overtake every part of our life. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen by self-help books. It doesn't happen by gaining wealth. Many people think, well, if I get a better job or if I get more money, I'm going to be better off in life. No. Many people think, well, I'll be okay if I get a better car. Well, Rick's got a good truck. Ask him how good his truck held up when the deer ran out in front of him. No, the deer didn't do very well with it either, but I don't think the deer was as troubled near as much as you. Are you following what I'm saying? We misplace. Remember what I read to you in Jeremiah, God's warning in Jeremiah? We misplace what we determine is going to give us a sense of well-being, when it should only be our love and our trust for God. Now, I'm running out of time. I want to try to get through this. Verse 3, though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise up against me, in this I will be confident. What is it that he is confident in? Go back to verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. The Lord is the strength of my life. Is he your light? Is he your salvation? You're the only ones that can answer that. I don't have the right to get in your face and ask that question. Although I want to sometimes. But what you've got to ask yourself is God really my light and my salvation? When I say I love God, is that love for God so consuming that it overshadows everything in life going on around me? Is my love for Jesus so great that nothing else in life pushes me into the ground? Now, let's be honest about it. There's going to be things that are going to push your buttons. I'm not going to lie to you. There's going to be things that are going to push your buttons. Getting back to my eyes, when I was first told that I would have to get eye injections and probably the rest of my life in order to not lose my vision, the thoughts of getting a needle stuck in my eye wasn't on the top of my list of fun things to do. Wasn't even on my bucket list. But you know, man, God has made it through and worked it through with me to where it's not a big deal anymore. It really isn't a big deal. There are things that you experience from it, but it's not a big deal. Is God so consuming in your life that work does not beat up on you to the point that You're just done. Let me tell you something. I don't know what you experience in life. I don't know what your work is like. I can speculate with some of you. But the question you got to ask yourself is your work so consuming that you lose sight of God's love for you? Is your work so consuming that you lose sight of God's love for you? I'm running out of time, so I'm going to jump down to verses 13 and 14. David draws some conclusions here. Verse 13 says, I would have lost heart. Some translations say I would have fainted unless I believed. What a statement. David basically is saying, I'd have lost it. Had I not believed in God's promises for me, I'd have lost it. Something we ought to realize. It is not anything but the promises of God that sustains us and that gets us through life, that helps us to cope with the challenges that we face. We all face challenges, do we not? Anybody in this room not face challenges? We all do. It is the promises of God in His Word that gets us through it. And David's saying, I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would have seen the goodness of God in the land of the living. Now, let me say this to you. Romans 8:28. For we know all things work together for good to them that love God. I would suggest that you learn that. And you hold on to it. Because here's the thing. When you're faced challenges at work, anybody besides me ever face a challenge at work? I was going to say, Jen, you better stick your hand up. People, the folks that you deal with, that's all they know how to do is to present challenges for people. That's their coping mechanisms. I dealt a lot with prisoners when I was in Florida as a ministry and helping them learn to cope differently. So yeah, it's there. But you see, we learn to deal with those challenges not by being drawn into their struggles, but by Romans 8:28. And I know all things work together for good. God, am I loving you, or is what am I feeling a result of other people's stresses? Lord, I am feeling pressured. I am feeling the anger well up in me. I'm feeling the pressure in me. And Lord, I know this isn't from you. Because your word says all things work together for good. Well, this sure doesn't feel very good. What am I supposed to do with this? Well, it says all things work together for good to them that love God. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not focusing on God's love. I'm focusing on what others were doing to me. What David say here? Jump back up here. First 3 verses. The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me, when they started pushing my buttons, to eat up my flesh. In other words, they wanted to really get my goat. My enemies and foes, they stumbled and they fell. though an army may encamp against me. When the pressures are going on at work or at life in general, when all of this is going on around us, and Satan is saying, yeah, God says all things work together for good. Yeah, right. But see, that's where he leaves off. He forgets the, to them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. Oh, wait a minute. Jesus is my Savior. I am called. I am called to his purpose. He loves me. Am I focusing on God's love for me, or am I focusing on what others are trying to do to me? I am not going to let that happen anymore. I'm done with that. Therefore, I'm going to love God. Somebody's alarm is going off now. You follow what I'm saying? To them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. I wonder if that's my car. Oh, there it is. Hey, go figure. I know, Lord, it's time to quit. Yeah. You won't hear me say that very often. All right, verse 14. Here's how we do this. Now, I want every one of you to listen to me, because every one of us have different issues in life we deal with. Wait on the Lord. That phrase, wait on the Lord, literally means stay close to God. It literally means stay close to God. Folks, when Jesus said in John 15, abide in me and I in you, and remember in the Greek that word abide means to stay connected, to remain. The problem we have is we don't stay connected. We turn loose to try to fix everything around us. And the only thing that needs to be fixed is what exists within us. Are you following me on this? And David concludes and he says, wait on the Lord. And then he says, be of good courage. In other words, trust God. Trust God. Throughout the entire Bible, trusting God is key. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says what? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not into your own understanding. Stop trying to reason it and figure it out. When you're going through life and things aren't feeling so good, and we know all things work together, and I know all things work together for good. Yes, I know all things work together for good. To them that love God, Lord, am I really loving you? Or am I focusing on what's being done to me? To those that love God, to those that are called, oh, wait a minute, okay, I am called because God called me to be part of his family. I am adopted into his family. That's what Romans 15 and 8, 15 and 16 is talking about. I'm adopted. I am chosen. And for his purpose. God's got a purpose for me. And we know all things work together for good to them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. Are you following me now how you change your thinking? This is how it changes. You take the time to stop and recognize that Satan is pulling you away. It's not the good around us that should give us a sense of well-being. It is the good that God is doing within us. David concludes and he says, "And he shall strengthen your heart." Isaiah 40:31, they that wait upon the Lord will what? Renew their strength. When you wait on the Lord. And the last thing David says in verse 27 is, "Wait, I say, on the Lord." In other words, we need to be willing to be patient and wait on God. You know, the biggest reason we don't, I should say the biggest problem we have in waiting on God is we just don't trust Him. We want it fixed, and we want it fixed right now. Rather than saying, "God, I ain't feeling the love right now." Why is that? Well, am I loving you, or am I focusing on what's going on around me or what's being done to me? Which is it? Which is it? I know I'm saved. I'm called. I know you've got a plan for me. Jeremiah 29:11 says that I know the thoughts that I have for you. God's got a plan for me. Psalm 139 said, "All the days of my life were written before one of them ever came to be." God has a plan and He wrote it down. He's got a plan for me. So it must be, it's not that God is neglecting me, it's that I just am not looking to God. Hebrews 12:2, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Let's pray, and then Steve's going to come and we're going to sing a couple verses of How Great Thou Art. Holy Father, I again thank you that we are able to change our thinking, to redirect things with your help. That we are able to look to you for everything.